Hi everyone, Gridlock Cosplay here. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to put a wood grain onto EVA foam. Now it's likely that you've seen some of these techniques before, but hopefully I can give you a pointer or two here and there for your own process. So let's get started. It's a pretty simple process. You only need a few tools. You need your knife and a sharpener, a heat gun, and optionally a straight edge. Now in this video, I'm going to be using plastidip for sealing. I'm going to use just regular acrylic paint, and of course, a scrap of EVA foam. The only thing that I'm going to use the ruler for is giving myself some guidelines, because I'm actually going to be cutting out one piece, kind of like making a plank. So I'm just going to start by, this is going to be a full-size cut, but I'm just kind of tracing it out right now. Okay. So that's where I'm eventually going to cut all the way through, but for now I'm just going to leave it so that I have something to grip as I'm working with the rest. So the way adding wood grain works is to take your knife and to just do a shallow score in the foam to make a line. It's kind of hard to see there. And you do another line beside it and another line beside it. And it's very important that you do not use a ruler because you want it to be naturally imperfect. It has to be organic as you make it. So what you do after this is you use your heat gun to expand those lines. So we're going to apply this technique onto the piece where we're putting the wood grain. Now I'm going to start by making the knot hole, and I'm going to start with the inside like so. I'm going to start with a point right up here and bring it around kind of in an oval shape, but it's not going to be rounded on either end. Okay, so in here like this, make sure that it meets up like that. You always want to be cutting away from the point. So this is the inner layer of the knot hole. Now what we need to do next is put lines that go around the knot hole, but we don't want to just bring them straight down because, you know, it has to curve around. So I'm going to start with another one of these shapes, but starting it up here, bringing it down as close as possible to the side and then down and away again. I think for this one, I'm going to do one more, and then we'll just start adding all the rest of the wood grain. So the result here is that there's the center of the knot hole, and it gradually eases it in to the more parallel lines. So from up here, I'm going to draw a line all the way down and bring it just around the knot hole, and of course expand it down to the bottom so that it continues to make room for the other lines. I'm going to put another knot hole up here. Looks like I got it a little bit close there, but that's okay. Wood is not supposed to be perfect. The next thing to do is to fill in these lines and make sure that they are spaced as evenly as possible. Feeling not so sharp there. So I'm making sure that there is approximately the same space between these two lines as there is down here so that I'll be able to fit in the rest of my grain. If you are right-handed like I am, you want to make sure that any lines that you have are on the left side so you can see where you're cutting. And there it is. We've got our wood grain completely covering the entire piece of wood. And now that I see this again, I think that it could do with another circle on the inside here. One thing that you may need to check for is to make sure that all your lines are connected. If they aren't, then you'll know immediately. And it looks like I managed to get them. I should have left one to show you what it looks like. But basically, it becomes blatantly obvious that the lines are not connected. So there, we've got the main wood grain. I'm going to cut these out now so that we just have the one piece of wood. One thing to note here is that the deeper you make your cuts, the wider the wood grain line ends up being. So you can get a lot of different appearances by just varying how deep you make your cut. Now that the wood grain is fully covering the foam, I'm going to add the plastidip. Now, I always warm it up in a bowl of hot water for 5 to 10 minutes because it applies better when it is warm. Plastidipped and a very well-defined wood grain, so the next thing to do is to paint it. Due to the nature of plastidip here being a spray, it didn't get all the way down into the grain. You can kind of see it there if I bend it. So what I'm going to start with is some black paint just to fill in the gaps a bit. I know it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm just giving it a little bit of a bend to open up the grooves a little bit more, to get my brush in there and get it completely covered. Now before the paint dries, I'm going to go over it again just with the brush and just trace out where I have the wood grain. This makes it so that the grain of the paint is the same as the grain of the wood. You want to be doing this with every layer of paint that you put on, just so that it stays consistent, because you wouldn't want your paint lines to be going like this way. Now we come to the painting, and I will be the first to admit that painting is one of my weak points, but we'll give this a try anyway. So I've got two different colors of brown here. I've got the darker and the lighter, and I'm just going to use both of them to paint this. Now I'm going to be careful here to not get into the grooves because I want those to remain black. Just using a foam brush here. Very gently so that it doesn't go in, and always with the grain. So just putting, and I got some down in there already. Okay. I told you I'm not very good at painting. I'll get some of this highlight in here too. Looks like it's starting to come together. See, I got a little bit impatient right there, and I got some that went down in there, but it's all right. Now at the end of each coat that you put on, make sure that the strokes are with the grain. And just let that dry, and then I'll put on another coat. And I'll be sure to use a little bit more of the highlights. I've done a little more work on this by taking that lighter colored paint and filling in just a few of the grains. And what that does is it gives it a higher contrast, and in this case, it makes it look a little bit cartoony, which might be a style that you want. You got to do a lot of experimenting with the different types of paint and the different colors that you're going to be using. But now that you have the basics, you can give it a try yourself. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you all later.